So thanks so much for joining us today, Adam. I was just glimpsing on your book. You talked about real estate being the greatest producer of wealth, but we see so many people losing their homes today. Isn't it also a producer of poverty?
It's causing great poverty, but the reason that it's the greatest producer of wealth is when people are using it as homes or investments and as a long-term plan. For example, people that bought in 1980 their homes for $100,000, their homes are still worth over $1 million today. Those that bought it and refinanced or took out money and used it as an ATM machine or a money machine where they could keep getting money out of it, those are the ones that are losing their homes and being foreclosed on. Those that think long term and they go slow and they think about good investments, they're doing really well.
Okay, but most of the homeowners relied upon the bank and the government to obtain the mortgage. So how would whose responsibility is it to get a 30-year mortgage?
I don't really blame the lenders for giving out loans. Every individual taking out a loan knew how much money they made at that time. They knew exactly how much they had in the bank. They knew exactly what they could afford to take out. They decided to take out more than they could ever afford to pay back. I blame the consumer, not the lender.
But how would a consumer know that they can't afford to get this property if they're getting approved for it?
Math. If a consumer makes $100 a week and they're taking out a loan of $100,000 a week, they know they're never going to be able to pay that back. That was what was going on.
Okay, and do you think that the government, like I know in your book you also talk about the government involvement. What is the government? How does it get involved in us purchasing homes?
Well, the government so far, there's two organizations called Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And almost every loan you bought within the last 5 years is backed by one of those two organizations. It's a semi-quasi-governmental guarantee that has turned into a guarantee whereby almost every traditional loan that comes in, the government is backing it, is guaranteeing that if you don't pay, they'll cover it.
Is that a good thing for us as
It's a horrible thing. It's cost $121 billion since the fall of 2008 in taxpayer money to pay for the debacle that happened. So even after the crisis, we paid $121 million since to back home loans. I think it's time for the government to get out of that business.
But isn't the government providing homes through Fannie Mae to people who could not otherwise obtain homes?
It's the opposite. Because they're giving out loans still to some people that can't afford them. This new HAMP program, yes. The new programs that are out there, the Home Affordable Refinance Program, that program is now giving out loans to people where the amount of money they're allowed to take out is more than the home is worth. That's a horrible business decision. So if I ran my business like the government ran its business, I'd be in bankruptcy. It looks like the government's heading there also.
So you're saying that the government should back out of the housing system, that Fannie Mae should just go away?
If they did it quickly, where if they just backed out completely, we'd have another economic crisis. They need to do it slowly. The problem is they're not thinking about America. They're thinking about November, the election year. So they want to keep everything steady. And they know that if there are a lot of foreclosures enter the market at the same time, then what's going to happen to prices is going to go way down. And it's still America's biggest asset, our greatest wealth is from homes, the things we live in. So if we lower those prices too much, then that's going to be another economic crisis probably. However, still, people cannot afford to buy homes at reasonable prices. So until the government starts pulling back and starts only giving loans to people that can afford them, we're not going to have affordable housing.
Wow.
It's an inflated market that's a steroid, where basically you're pumped up because of steroids rather than actually eating meat and potatoes.
Wow. So what do you think about the loan modification programs? Do you think that those are working?
No, I think they're benefiting very few people, and they may be good in the short term for a few buyers and sellers, but overall, the market needs to take its course on its own.
So speak of foreclosures, how long do you think it's going to be around for? Because I mean, it's a couple of years we're going on.
That's up to the government. The government's basically holding them back. I mean, right now they're talking about having auctions where they're going to sell many of them, but there are hundreds of thousands of them just sitting in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's books and banks' books. And even worse, besides the laws that are set up by the government to hamper them, there's state laws and the courts that are slowing up foreclosures. It takes 24 months is the average foreclosure in New York to go through. In other states, it's 16 months, 17 months. In Florida, it's about 20 months. So those states that are judicial states where you have to go through court, it takes forever to get the foreclosure out of the market. Why is that bad? 3 reasons. Number one, if you can't get a foreclosure done that quickly, the person's living in the home for free. Number two, they're not usually taking care of homes that are being foreclosed on. And number four, by having that property off of the market,
Yes.
the prices in the market, existing market, stay high.
Right. So New York is a judicial
Judicial state. That's why it
Okay.
takes 24 months, the average foreclosure, to go through.
But wasn't the bank like making up these robust signing? Weren't they fraud and
The banks made a lot of mistakes. They really did.
So isn't that what the court system is for? Is to just balance the power between the homeowner and the lender?
Right, but and that's a very good point. If the banks don't have their act together, they shouldn't be able to foreclose so soon. But even besides the robo-signing, that's not the only thing slowing up. It's a very good point, Teisha, but that's not the only thing that's slowing it up. What's also slowing up is a bunch of state laws passed that require you to have conferences, and if you're in a certain program, you're not allowed to foreclose. And the judges are taking a long time to decide the decisions because they know they're going to be putting people out in the street. So it may be bad for it's a horrible thing to put people out in the street, but if you can't afford to be in your home, not only you're hurting that one person, you're hurting the entire economy. So every home that's in foreclosure for years, you're taking away that home from someone who could afford it, who can have reasonable, affordable housing that can buy it and live happily ever after in it, rather than someone who's never going to be able to pay the mortgage.
But again, how did the homeowner obtain the mortgage? It's because of Fannie Mae and the bank. So
Well, the lender decided that they were qualified to do it.
Yes.
Back in 2004, they had ninja loans. You could get a loan with no income, no job, no assets, ninja loans. No job, no assets, no income.
Yes.
Ninja. So they were giving out loans to anybody. What happened was it goes way up. It goes to the big banks, the investment banks, and they put together hundreds, thousands of mortgages into balloons all together into one. And they knew they were getting a better return on their investment through these bonds, these securitized bonds called residential mortgage-backed securities. And they put all those together and sold them to the market, but they couldn't sell enough of them. So the only way they could sell more and more of these bonds onto the market to make more money was to sell them to people that couldn't afford them. So there are no innocents in this game. The banks were wrong for giving out loans that they shouldn't have been giving out. The consumers were wrong for actually taking out loans they shouldn't have been taking out. And the government was actually helping everyone do this. So there are no innocents, everyone's guilty, and everyone's paying a price, especially the United States of America's economy.